Pete, officially welcome to the Wealth Juice podcast. We're stoked to have you on here, man. Normally Ryan does these intros, but I was on your podcast in person I don't know, man, maybe 6 months ago. Time's flying. It was like 6 months or so ago. We had a great conversation. I was like, we got to do this again. We got to have you on ours. And you're semi-local to us. I drove up. We met in New Brunswick. We're in Philly. Obviously, Ryan and I are in the Philadelphia area, so it's like an hour and a half. I just felt a lot of synergy, man. So I really appreciate you taking the time and looking forward to getting to tell your side of the story on our show.
Yeah, man, it's good to have another conversation with you. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. So, all right. You played football at Rutgers. Sports guy, sports background, got into the real estate game, property management. You're building a portfolio. You're developing. You're doing a lot. I want to go back to before, maybe exiting college and this decision to get into real estate and do your own thing. Talk to me about the journey then and what gave you the idea that real estate was going to be like this, such a big part of your life.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I've always wanted to do since I graduated college. The light bulb moment for me was my senior year in school. I signed a lease very late with some of my teammates, and I'm signing the lease, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, we're paying Frank $28,000 a year, and they're like, yeah. I was like, wow. And then my roommate's like, yeah, he's got 7 houses. I was like, he's got 7 houses? I said, what does this guy do for a living? They're like, he's a gym teacher. It was like light bulb moment. I was like, man, I want to be like him when I'm older. And then, got my first job. I was working, I guess Wall Street, I like to call it. It was at a proprietary trading firm, like commodity futures and options. And I was talking to guys about real estate, and they were kind of like explaining to me like how to evaluate property from like a cap rate perspective and cash on cash. And I knew this was like 09, 2010. I knew I wanted to buy. I just didn't have money. So like I invested in some REITs, made a little bit of money doing that. And then, truthfully, my wife gets a lot of the credit because at that time, we were looking to stay close to New York City because I worked in the city, and she was doing the equivalent of like a residency and in different areas. And she was like, why don't we just buy property in New Brunswick and rent to some college students? I was like, yeah, wouldn't that be funny? And then I was like, hmm. And then within like 3 months, we bought a 3-family. It was a complete dump. She cried on the way home when I said we were going to be living there. And, maybe 2 weeks after we closed, a little bit of like, oh my God, what have I done happened? And then from there, like I just became addicted to it and looked to see how I could get another one and how I could evaluate deals. And I became obsessive with it ever since.
Love it. Yeah. I mean, once you get the bug in this real estate game, it's hard to shut it off. And I was just having this conversation with a member of our community who's like following in our footsteps a little bit. Shout out to Mike. He's been on the podcast, but he now has 8 units, and he joined the community when he had 1. And I had this conversation with him last week, and I was like, dude, what do you think's next? Like, he's like, oh, I got to chill, man. Like, I can't buy anymore right now. Like, I need at least 6 to 12 months. And then 1 month later, he's under contract for his next property, because it's just like, once you do it, you're like, I know how to do it. And you don't need that much money in your bank account, or you feel safer with the money in the properties, right? So you don't go
Can I
spend
give
it.
Mike some advice? You
Yeah.
could send
Hopefully
this to
Mike's
him.
listening.
So Mike, what happens when you don't try to buy property is you wind up buying even more property because there's no pressure on you. You're not evaluating deals, all of a sudden, like all that comes to you. So like, that's what's happened to me like the last 3 or 4 years. I haven't like actively seeked out a property probably in like 4 years. And
And
I
that's what I want to
promise you
get
I've
into
bought
then.
property every
Like,
year. Yep.
so what does your portfolio look like now, since the start to now? And then I know you run a management company too. And did that derive from you? Like, I'm better at managing these properties than anybody else. I'm going to manage my own. And then you started to take on other people's. Can you just give us a picture of your business?
Yeah. So my business today, we like to call ourselves like asset managers. We're basically a turnkey rental shop. So if you're looking to build wealth, if you want mental freedom, financial freedom, you want to invest in New Jersey, we will help you get there and we will help you make money. Um, we could help you find the asset. We could help you fix it up. We have a construction division. We could help you with the management, find a tenant for you, and then we could even help you sell it in the future and do a 1031 exchange into something bigger and better. So I get great joy out of building out portfolios for people in my neck of the woods. I really love doing it, and I make money doing it, which is fun. The genesis of it started. I started a property management company because I want to hustle and get some more money. And I was kind of like younger. I was like, I'm gonna build a better mousetrap. I'm gonna be a better landlord than everybody else. And I quickly learned that everyone's not the same type of landlord. So um, like I would deal with landlords who like, sure, you can manage my property, and then they didn't want to fix anything, or the property was just a hellhole. And I was like, what the hell have I gotten into? So I learned a lot, but what property management allowed me to do was learn a lot about real estate investing. And if you think about it, I mean, we have 100 plus property management clients. So not all of them, but some of them, like I've learned from. Like, and we suddenly we were tweaking our leases or our systems or like the way I invest. So that was very helpful to me. And now today, like with my own portfolio, I either develop uh, or I fully gut it. I'll occasionally buy something and kind of put lipstick on a pig, as I call it. Like I'll do a kitchen, bathroom, flooring paint, but I want like A class property, and that's like a level that I feel like a lot of investors don't get to. Like a lot of people are kind of happy owning one or two. They've got paint on their jeans. I do all the work. I place the tenant. Like, okay, that's fine. Um, that's not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. So, Pete, one of the interesting things, and I think that you kind of eloquently spelled this out, is that a lot of people, when they get into real estate, they want to do things on their own, or they think that they want to do things on their own. And I think it comes from a lack of trust. Like they don't trust someone else to fix the toilet or to fix the bathroom or to do the work themselves. And that's why they have paint on their pants, or
Jeans.
or maybe it's something different that I'm not even like realizing. But like, what gave you the ability to go to other people once you started to build your own portfolio and say, hey, you should trust me with managing your property and getting them to believe you, and then you start to build a business around that?
I think a lot of it was momentum. So one of the things I did early on is when I would manage a property, I would put my sign up. And then, so all of a sudden people started seeing a couple of signs and then more signs. And then, like it just kind of grew the brand organically. Um, and so like that's one thing I've always done. Like when we manage property, we like to put our sign up. Even now when we do construction, we put like a big sign up so people could see it. Um, and then after a while, I would tell people like, look, like we're very good at what we do. And by the way, like I also worked on Wall Street for 11 years. Like if you're even calling another property manager, like what did they do before this? So I think that gives me a huge leg up. And what I know today is like my sales pitch doesn't land with everyone. I'm super direct, like right into the heart, right? So like, I'm going to tell you what you uh, need to hear, no, not what you want to hear. Um, but like that helped me grow quite a bit. And with our management company, at least, I learned a lot of trial and error. Because truthfully, we're super picky now. Like we cut clients every year if we're not if they don't trust us in our system. Like we don't have the time for it, or the patience, I should say. But the clients who do trust us and let us do what we do, we make them six figures of income, or excuse me, six figures of equity on a property with like forced appreciation. We pump up their cash flow. So those are the things I really enjoy doing.
Are you focused now on building your portfolio more so than finding new properties for clients? Is it a good balance of a mix of that? Like I know you mentioned pre-recording, and maybe we can get into this live, that your business plan is taking maybe a 90-degree angle, right? You're changing some things. So I'm curious
Yeah.
about what that
Yeah.
is and if that plays a factor.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to talk about it. So basically, I like to think of us like Tverdov housing in 2026 as a turnkey rental operation. So, um, and if I back up a minute so we're much more than just a property management company. I'm kind of trying to shake that label because like people think that's what my company is. And I talk to people, I'm like, dude, I'm much more than a guy with a plunger. Okay. Like if you listen to me, I'll help you build a portfolio. I'll help you increase your property value, 50 grand, 100 grand, 200 grand. So like when I'm like, so those are the type of people I'm trying to attract, not Ryan who has a townhouse and is arguing with me that my rental fee should be 10%, 9% instead of 10%. I'm like, bro, I don't have time for that. Like because I can make Corey 100 grand right now, and I'm wasting my breath with you, who just doesn't get it. So we realize like the more A and B properties we manage, frankly, the more money our management company is going to make, the less headaches they're going to have, the happier our clients are going to be, and the easier it is to sell the property, the better we get better renters. It's literally just win, 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 win. So we are trying to attract as much of that as possible. And what I'm trying to do is basically just create that inventory. So how do I create that? I find real estate investors who, are struggling or just don't quite get it. And I'm like, look, like your property's a C. Are you willing to upgrade this property when this tenant moves out? If they say yes, great. We'll manage the property. We'll kind of ride out the storm. And when the tenant's ready, they'll move out. We'll do a bathroom, a kitchen, flooring, paint, and get the rent up to market. And we'll make you a lot of money. And so that's been really rewarding. And then we have some clients which are like in a different tier where I've convinced them, dude, like let's knock the house down and build a new two family or build a four family. Let's fully gut this house to the studs and rebuild it. We'll get you sky high rents. The property will be worth so much more. And I'm getting more and more clients who want to do that. And that's really fun. And oh, by the way, our construction company does it. Me and my brother have a construction company where we do that. So that's where I'm trying to get the company to turn towards. And now we're on the back end trying to figure out like how do we attract these people because they don't they don't grow on trees.
Yeah. No, that you're 100% right. I'm curious about like geographically because I was at your office and you're like right on the campus of Rutgers. So I know that student housing has been like a big play in your personal portfolio, but it sounds like some of that is a play in the portfolio that you manage and help others build, but some of it isn't. So like what areas you mentioned like B and A areas, is it more the property that you want to make a B plus A minus, or is it both? Is it the area? Like, do you certain places you stay away from? I'm trying to get a grasp of the business model.
So the business model is we want the property to be an A or B property. Now that being said, there are some cities or counties I don't want to do business in because it's just way too much red tape and headaches, and I just have no interest. Or some cities where people say it's up and coming. Yeah, we don't have any interest in those cities, but there's plenty of places in New Jersey, mostly central and north, that we do manage in and build in and do construction in. So that's basically the general idea of what we're shooting for.
And I've had this conversation with you when we were in in person. You were mentioning like if you're a you not only work with hands-on investors, but if you're like a higher income earner that is an accountant or an engineer or working as a doctor and they have extra money on the side that don't want to be more passive in syndications, that want to be active like owning the property 100%, but they can funnel their business your way and have you go help them find it and renovate it and do that. And look, anybody that's in business wants to work with people to have more money than less money, right? Like that's kind of obvious, but it sounds like that's kind of like a niche you've carved out for yourself. Is that yeah, at least that's what I was gathering from our last combo.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's both now. So I've because also it's really like my mission to make the communities in New Jersey a better place. That I'm not running for governor here, but like I believe that, so like I want to create great housing for people, like pretty houses for the towns and cities, right? So like that's why I do it. Um, and then like the benefit of that is now I'm trying to in my head I'm like how can I like 10x this because like we can't only be fixing up 3 or 4 houses a year. I'll be dead before I make a dent. So like how can we do 10, 12, 50, 20 houses a year, right? I need other people's money. It's like so now where I'm kind of at is like okay, I'm just gonna say yes to more deals. I'll put it under contract and I'll flip it to a client of mine. I'm just making up numbers here, right? But like,
Sure.
let's say I could
Well,
flip it
actually, I
on the
was going to
market.
ask you, Pete, like if you could give me a perfect example of avatar, not necessarily of the person, but of a property that you're like, this is what I would do. I'd buy it for this. I'd put this much in it. This is how much it could rent for in this area. Like if you could give us that, that would be great. And even if it was one of the examples that you were thinking of.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick example. Uh, there was a property. this is a very rare example, but there was a property last year in Summit in New Jersey, which is like a top 10 town in New Jersey. It's just like great town. Very high income people live there. It was a two family. I got it for 650. I completely over improved it because I always get carried away. So I probably spent 150 on it, right? So I'm in it for eight. It appraised for 1,050,000. I don't believe that, but it's probably worth like $1 million, right? So like I did that for myself, but I also do that for other people now, right? It's like where I'm shifting is in the past, I would have just taken that house and put it on the market as a realtor and made maybe if I'm lucky, I get the buyer and the seller, so I make 5 or 6% of that. So I don't know what is that, 18 grand, right? And then I'm happy. Or now, like what I'm looking to do in 2026, that same example, I could say, okay, I'll buy for 650, I'll put 150 in it, I'm in it for eight, but I'll sell to one of my clients for nine. And now they're happy. They got a discounted property, which, by the way, the bathroom was gutted, the kitchen was gutted, all the plumbing was ripped out, the siding was new, windows were new, right? So I made money there, they made money, and then my management company's happy because now we got two more A's in the portfolio. So I'm looking to do a lot more of that going forward. With small stuff, and then with bigger stuff, I've gotten into the development game a little bit. We're we're about 60% through on a 9 unit new construction that we're building. That's been fun, and we're actually going for approvals. And by the time this is live, I'll probably have a verdict. We're going for approvals for a 34 unit building.
Wow.
Um, yeah, which like, and now that stuff we're going to need investors for. So that's where maybe if just people want to invest money in a syndicate, they could do that. Or if they want to get their hands on, if they want to feel ownership, they want to own like a two, three, or four family, like we could do that for them too. So that's been the really rewarding part.
Yeah, I like this overall. It seems like you have full cycle business, full circle, I should say. When someone comes in, they can kind of dip into each bucket here, and you guys kind of take care of each lever. Which some people are unilateral, and I think it's nice to be able to take care of people in multiple facets. So, I actually kind of want to pivot away a little bit from the business and talk about like the mentality and the psychological kind of warfare we go through as entrepreneurs. And I'm curious, before real estate, was there something before? I think you touched on a little bit, but if you could dive into that, and then the pivot to entrepreneurship. Do you think that you playing ball and kind of going through that journey played any effect on you becoming an entrepreneur versus just doing the cookie cutter 9 to 5?
Man, Ryan just it's like sniper shot with a tough question, man. I love it. So actually, I've been thinking about this a lot, like the last 2 months. It's funny because I'm actually very into now a behavioral PI, like predictive index. I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
Mhm.
It's really expensive to get, by the way. I don't have it. Someone was kind enough to like let me borrow theirs to like evaluate myself and other people. Dude, it's like incredibly accurate. It's like scary accurate. And the way what I realized is like the way I think I'm wired, I was never wired to work a 9 to 5 because like in school, I wasn't a bad kid, but like I was like a 2.5 GPA. And like that's with like trying and some cheating in there. I was a 2.5. Now, why was I a 2.5? Because I didn't give a damn about like what they were teaching me, you know? I liked history, right? But like the biology class couldn't care less, like you know, some of the other classes just I couldn't care less, right? And then growing up with football, I was a lunatic. I was fanatical about it. Lunatic. I still am, but like I mean, you named a player in the NFL. I knew where he was born, and what college he went to, all his statistics, all that crap, right? That's how I am now with real estate. So what I'm getting at is like when you're younger, when you get really interested in something, you get like obsessive about it, and people try to tell you like it's bad to be obsessed. I don't think it is bad to be obsessed. That means you really like something. Now, obviously, there's a gray area with that, right? Um, but for me, like real estate, it doesn't feel like work. So when I'm trying to learn, I almost feel like a computer where like I'm trying to um, just download as much information as I can. And so and then with respect to you know like sports shaping me, I mean, dude, I played college football, Division 1. Rutgers is like a 500 program now. When I was there, we were actually ranked for like basically 2 years in a row. But dude, it was probably the closest thing to military training that you could get without being in the military. So like, I'm very used to waking up early. I'm very used to getting yelled at. I'm very used to like, ripping people. I'm very used to locker room talk where we make fun of each other. Um, you know, so I'm very used to all that. So to go from that, and you're 19, 20, 21 years old. And listen, those kids work like 80 hours a week, dude, between classes and lifts and school, right? So to go from that, and then I got spit out into the workforce, and I'm working 40 hours a week, and you're talking to people in corporate America who are not even like human, and you can't make a joke. I was just like, I got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I gave you a layup on that one. I knew it shaped you. It's funny, the more people we talk to in this game, former athletes, people that can juggle a lot of different things at once. Type A, a little bit of OCD in there too, and maybe some what's the word for it? Not OCD,
Like
ADD,
neurotic, basically.
neurotic. Yeah, just like we all got crazy brains, but it's funny. Like I think Corey and I both become obsessed with certain things too. And like, I would not say we have addictive personalities, but when you get hooked into this game, it once again, it just feels like a game again, and you get excited, and it's like the competition, and you're in competition with yourself. But then when you get around people that are doing it, like that's probably why we like the podcast so much. Cause it's like, it's locker room talk. We're talking with the people that are in the game that we're in, and you're searching and finding them. And when you're at your 9 to 5, looking to your left and right, it's just another person that wants to do that for their career, air quotes here, right? Like they want to stay in the cubicle and work for the man, and it's fine because they don't know another world, and it's hard to take the leap. And I'm not shaming that by any means, because we've been juggling both of ours and for the longest time, and then exiting for the business too. But my point here is, I've seen a lot of synergy with athletes, and watching you guys, at the next level. You mentioned military training. It's just, you can balance the schedule. You're getting yelled at, right? Which is like, you understand, you can take criticism, and you learn when to pivot, you learn when to just lock in. And I think some people just give up too easy in entrepreneurship, and it's not for the faint of heart. Like the days are long, and so it does shape you. I'll say that, which is, it's really cool to find, for Corey and I, like a band of brothers to talk to about this stuff, because you can't talk to many people about it. So with that, I would say is like, you mentioned your brother's in the business with you guys too. Can you talk about the transition out of the 9 to 5? There's a lot of people listening to the podcast that have 9 to 5. They're building their real estate portfolio. They're like, hey, I want to pursue this full time. At some point, stacking a lot of rentals takes a while. So it's just a hard time to decide when to leave, what to do in order to leave. How do you fuel yourself? So I'm just curious your personal position on all this, and when you decided to take the leap.
Well, so I think when you do eventually quit, you have to have something else ready for you to do. It's because like Bigger Pockets sells this dream, like, oh, you get, X doors, and then you've got financial freedom, and you never have to work again. Like you're gonna work again. You're gonna do something, whether it's selling ice cream or being a bus driver or, starting a company. Like you're gonna do something, right? So um now what I will say is it's harder today to generate like cash flowing rentals than it was 5 years ago when the rates were, 4%, right? You still could do it. It's gonna take you longer. But the bigger thing is like for people who are looking to do that, are you do you need that big of a house? Do you need that nice of a car? Do you need, all these clothes and all this crap that you have in your closet that doesn't really matter? Probably not. So like that's one, way that helped me is like I kept acquiring cash flowing rentals, and then I lived very, very uh well below my means, and I still do. It's like stupid, honestly, but I'm very used to it now, and I was then, and the people in the investment banking world that were making fun of me, when I told them all I quit. I remember the one guy, he was like, well, what the hell am I doing wrong? It's like, I don't know, man, but I'll see you on the other side. It's like, so and it's a fantastic feeling now, but let me tell you guys something. It was scary. Like when I did it, I remember riding city bike home, and I'm just like getting choked up a little bit, and then I was like, man, like Pete, you're just a big bet. Like you're betting on yourself now.
Yeah, it's the transition from Wall Street to Main Street, dude. It's cool. I like this story. We've had a couple other people that were in a similar boat to you, and it's, Corey can probably speak to this more because he took the bet end of last year, and it's been a journey. Watching watching him go through this, but I think there's something about betting on yourself. I feel like it's just this back against the wall mentality feeling where it's like, you just don't give up. You're going to go down to your last dollar at some point, but it always works itself out in some ways. It takes one relationship to get to the next level and like open that next door. Right. And so the more people you can meet and network with, that's why we're so bullish on the podcast, because we believe in like relationship capital, right? We talk about building capital for real estate and just like money in the ground, if you will. But I think the people around you are the secret sauce that gets you to the next level. You obviously have to bet on yourself and trust in it, but you can go a certain point by yourself, but getting around the right people, you can go really far. So can you talk to me about that? Maybe how you brought your brother in, getting the people around you to uplift the whole ship. We talked Titanic, but let's talk about keeping it afloat here. You've built a pretty substantial team. How'd you go about building the behemoth that you have? And then, talk about like the importance of people and relationships.
Yep. So that's a good question, Ryan. So, I mean, I some of it was trial and error. I knew I needed help early on, so I got a virtual assistant, and then the guy who's my director today, he kept like bugging me for a job. I was like, get away from me, dude. I don't want to give you a job. And then like after a while, he kind of wore me down, and he helped grow with the company. Um, and I do like hiring people that have kind of like come up through the ranks at my company. That's been something that's been nice because you gain familiarity with those people. And then I had my brother, he also went to Rutgers and played football. And then, he would help when he played with like the apartment turns and like doing junk removal. And then I remember he graduated and like I gave him a job as a property manager and he wanted to hang himself after about 6 months because, it's a tough job. Um, and then he came back and he was interested in construction. And I was like, dude, look, I'm doing this by myself. I need help. And that lasted like 3 months. And then I was like, look, I'm just going to close that business. We're going to open a new one and go 50-50. He's like, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. I was like, you're going to learn. I was like, because I need the help. And we've done that. And that's been a lot of fun. And the cool thing is our construction business's biggest client is my brokerage and management company because we work with so many investors. And some of it's like deals that I'm doing. So that's been really fun. It's been fun to watch him learn construct. And now he's like teaching me stuff. Like he was teaching me stuff today. So with our construction business, we're very methodical. We have like a huge spreadsheet that's a checklist. And literally as you go down, it's like click, 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 click. And as you're clicking at the top of the spreadsheet, it's showing what percentage of the project is complete. And so, for example, one of the steps is to mark out all the outlets, switches, internet boxes, everything before sheetrock. Why? Because sheetrockers bury this stuff, right? So we spray paint it. Well, he was like, "Oh, Pete, I talked to one of the electricians. Actually, you're supposed to make an X instead of a circle for like the outlets." It's like, "Oh shit!" And like then he was walking around with like a gun, but with the spray paint in the gun and doing it. I'm like, I was like, "Look at you, man! Now you're teaching me." So that's been pretty cool to see that from him.
Yeah. That's a full circle thing. And like to bring your family along with you, like Ryan and I hired my brother in our business for a little while. He actually moved on to do something else and it was totally mutual, but like just I love that aspect. And I got to meet your brother and he's a lot younger than you, right? Like how much
He's
younger?
11 years younger than me. He's much friendlier than me. He's a good kid.
That's funny because
He's
my brother is 10 years younger than me. So I think we were talking about that. It's like, so yeah, dude, I love that aspect of it. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you, and I was thinking about this, I just didn't want to let it go. So sorry for like jumping in here, but we talked about this when we were in together, like in your doing your podcast. But the obsessive personality, the drive, like all of this stuff is amazing for business, But I had a birthday recently where I turned 34, and I just for some reason 34, I was like, oh shit, like I'm really really an adult now. Like I'm mid 30s. I don't know why it was 34. It didn't happen with 33, but 34 it just so I know we're around the same age. I think you're a little bit older, but like talk to me about, is there any balance and like do you get to shut off and enjoy, because time goes as fast for me as it does for you, and it does for everyone else. And I like to think about kind of the why behind it. But like, have you, as you got more established in your business, are you pressing the gas pedal harder and harder and harder, or have you been able to been like, no, you know what, I can take weekends here and there, I can take vacations, not have a problem? I'm curious about that aspect as you build take this 90-degree angle in your right turn with your company.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I worked for many years to get myself personally out of like property management because I started to get aggravated because in my head I was because like just the way people were talking to me or I'll tell you guys a great story. I used to have one owner. This one owner, I think, paid us like 4 grand a month to manage their portfolio. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
They would call me at like 10 o'clock at night, just like, and I remember thinking one day, I'm like, I did not quit working at an investment bank to be a property manager the rest of my life.
Or
And
to
I was
take
like,
calls at 10 p.m., right?
yeah, I was
Exactly.
like, I'm not doing this anymore. Um, so I worked very hard to get myself out of that. It is very hard for me to turn it off. But like I do vacation a lot. Um, like I've probably vacationed for like 4 or 5 weeks this year, which is like,
Great.
that's not bad. Um, I am trying hard. It's definitely way better. My wife would probably be critical, but um, it's definitely way better than it was. Like I do feel like I'm more present when I'm at home because at a certain point you got to shut the business off. You got to like, because like I don't know if you guys have kids yet, but like
Ryan does.
like when your kids looking at you and you're typing on the computer like that hits them in the heart. So like now when my kids talk, I'm like I stop and I look at them. I try to be around them more, and that's the reason why I got out of working my 9 to 5 because I was commuting into New York City. I was only seeing my kid for 30 minutes a day. So like and that's the trap of being an entrepreneur is you get caught up in that, and then all of a sudden you're seeing your kids just as much as you were when when you were in the 9 to 5. So you do need to have balance. I read this book that was really good and it said you need to find your goalpost, and I do believe that because otherwise it's never enough. It's never enough houses. It's never enough money. It's never enough cars, whatever it is. So, uh, my like, do I have a goalpost? No, but I think my goalpost is to build nice properties for people, do business with good clients, and do good projects. Like that is my goalpost. Like I don't need to do 100 of those. Like I don't need to do any of it, frankly. Um, but that's I've basically found what makes me happy. So like in a sense, like that is my goalpost.
Yeah, I really like that. Another football reference, classic. But I had to hit you with it. I thought it was funny.
We're gonna go
I'll
straight
read
into
that
the
book.
end zone now.
There you go. I'm a big football guy too. I played in high school.
Hit the A gap, fellas. Hit the A
Yeah, hit
gap.
the A gap.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. I like when kids are brought up because I'm navigating that journey now too. She's 2.5, and it is interesting, right? Like we're consistently just trying to balance not being locked in on the business all the time, but your brain is consistently going. You're thinking about prospects, you're thinking about revenue coming in, you're thinking about the people within your business, you're thinking about it's just so many different things, right? And like, hey, am I on the right path? Do we need to pivot? Do we need to double down on this? Like, those are just a multitude of things that go through your head, right? But then when this like work from home atmosphere, when you have an office at home and then you go in, like it's hard to separate the world is my point. And I think that's due to the world becoming so technological and like not having to go into the office all
Absolutely.
the time. And then you're at home and you're like, well, I could go downstairs and hang with her for a little bit, or she'll like run in the office and I love it. But there's still like the computer here and the microphone, the podcast setup, whatever. And it's just, I have this weird feeling. I don't know why, but I hate when she's like, oh, you're going to work or work. And I'm like, it's a good thing to show like, hey, I'm going to provide, and like I have to teach her what that word means, right? Like going to provide and like and doing things for the family. But on the other hand, I hate it in the back of my head because it's like she knows that time is when we're not hanging and we can't spend time together. And it's like it's that little like pull on your leg. You're like, hey, can you come play? And I'm like, I wanna have way more time to play, and that's why I'm going to work. But at the end of the day, she'll never be this young again. And this is the best time. And so you hear all these stories of people if they could just go back for a day, right? So embrace it. So I try to ground myself as much as I can and just like lock it in the moment. but the days go so fast, or sometimes they're so long, but the years go so fast. I can't believe she's almost 3 at this point. So it's just, I know a lot of people listening to this are going through the same thing, and I don't think there's a perfect answer for it. I think you really have to be intentional about your time and defend your time blocks, and make sure when you're off, you really shut off. And Cory and I, kind of one of our early mentors, he wrote a book called Be Where Your Feet Are. And it's like, I've combed through most of the book, but it's really, the premise of it is just like, be where you're at. Like if you're in the moment with your daughter, phone away and clear your head. Like you need to just lock in and doing what you're doing, because they know that and they feel that. And you don't want down the line when they're older to be like, well, dad was never there. He was there, but he was never mentally there. So a lot of different stuff there. Other people would argue, well, dad was providing an amazing life, and like now look at, you don't have to really work or do anything, right? Like you can just do whatever you want. But it's just a hard battle. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And for those, like maybe tips and tricks, if you have them, for balancing this, hey, I need to spend time with my family, also still need to provide. Now you seem like you're at this point where, you can comfortably do as many deals or as few deals as you'd like to do, which is amazing. How do you balance it and like carve out time for the fam so you feel fulfilled in your world, but then also at home?
Well, I mean, look, one of the nice things about being an entrepreneur is if I want, I could bring my kids to school each day. I could pick them up each day. Like it's hard to put a price on that. Um, you know, I'm on the phone way less when I'm home now. I mean, I still am, don't get me wrong. And I don't mean like doom scrolling. I mean like, on the phone with a client. That's way less than I used to do. Um, and like I'm not afraid to bring them around the office sometimes. Actually, one of the cool things I like to do is with the construction piece, I've brought them to like the last 3 house demos that we've done, and like they'll stand there and watch the excavator just like annihilating this house, and then like afterwards I'll have them sit in the excavator and take a picture. They'll take a picture with me, and so I have a few of those photos like framed in my office. I bought like these cute little yellow hard hats on Amazon, and then they have like construction jackets, so like I think that's cool, man, because like you don't know how that's gonna change somebody's perspective or rub off on them. The one thing I will say, which is kind of cute, is I guess kids think like the cartoon version of knocking down a house is with the big wrecking ball. So they keep thinking like this machine's coming with a wrecking ball. I'm like, no, they don't do that anymore anymore, guys. It's like an excavator. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I just want to add on to that too. No, like this is really interesting. I'm going back now. So my dad had a construction company growing up. He still has it. My brother works for him. And I always thought he was like Superman, to be honest. Like he had all the big machines, the huge trucks that had our name on it. And like around town, he always gave back, and he was doing things for the soccer fields, baseball fields. Everyone knew who he was. And I just felt like my dad is the coolest, and I want to be like him when I grow up. And then you grow up and you get to this point where you like now starting to run a business ourselves and going through all this. I realize all the things that he had to have been going through mentally while trying to raise us kids, trying to provide every single day. And I've come to this, like, there's like, it's like a double-edged sword. What I think is the coolest thing is like when you're at a point where you can sustain your livelihood off of your business, something you created from nothing. That is a huge accomplishment. I don't care who you are or what you do, but if you're able to sustain yourself that way, you've made a dent in the world, and you're making the world a better, bigger place if you're doing it the right way, right? Then you're passing it down. If you have kids, you're showing them what's possible by taking a bet on yourself. And like that's dad's company. That's really cool. Why does my dad not have to go work for someone else and punch a clock and be in traffic all day? Like that is so cool. And so for me, I think it's just in my blood at this point. Like I've watched my dad do this for as my dad. His brother also had a company, paving company, and then his other brother had a craning company, but they all had their own. And so I was like, oh, at some point I'll have my own thing. It's just natural, right? Like it's just a Bevilacqua thing. Like we're going to do it. And lo and behold, we did it. Like I'm here. And my younger brother, he's doing the same thing, completely different thing. So it's really interesting what we as kids soak in, and then passing down as a father. Now it's like, I know it's really cool for my daughter. Like she's going to see, even if she just looks back at all 350 podcast episodes, she's like, well, dad did his thing for like 5 years. That was pretty badass. Look at all this real estate we have. So there's a lot of different things that happen. And my point is, I think people give themselves, I don't think they celebrate it enough, how important it is, or how like much of a win, if it is in your life, is if you can create something from absolutely nothing and build revenue around it and control your schedule and make a name in the world. Like that's badass to me. I love that. And I have way more appreciation for people now. It's any small business owner that I like come across, whether it's client or something else. I'm like, and then I find out you have kids. I'm like, how do you manage this all? This is the hardest shit ever. It's cool, man. So I just like kudos to you. I appreciate like you mentioning the excavator. I wanted to share that story because my dad did touch a truck growing up, and like he had the excavator, the big dump trucks, and we at the quarry and all this stuff. And I was like, he passed all that stuff down to me, didn't even have to say anything. And like now I've gone so hard because of that, and I want to pass that down to my kids. So thought it was cool.
Well,
Yeah, just one more thing two more things to touch on that. 'Cause you talk about building. So I was at this real estate mastermind like a month ago, and this guy's on stage in Wyoming. Very similar business to mine, but he flips a lot of houses. So I don't really flip. And he's like, we have like $50 million of assets under management. And I was like, holy smokes, man! I was like, that's a lot. And I'm like, huh? I wonder what I have, like with my company. And so I spent like 10 minutes, and then I calculated it. My company manages $100 million of real estate, like 100 million of assets under management. I was like, and bro, from scratch. So I was like, that's a freaking big number, man. Like we're a legit company like this. So that's my, this whole year with my company. I've had everyone, I'm like, bro, raise the bar. Like we're not the same as these other people. Set yourself to a different standard with everybody, with clients, with vendors, everything. And then the other point, like that me and Cory were talking about with respect to like entrepreneurship, and I'm a big believer in this, like 100 years ago, right? Like when you went into Philadelphia, maybe not 100, but whatever, 150 years ago, right? Like there was like a bank, there was a post office, there was a blacksmith, there was a tailor, there wasn't like a corporation, you know what I mean? So like, I think naturally we're kind of meant to, uh, eat what we kill, so to speak, right? So like I think a lot of people have that in them. I think kind of the way the school system is designed teaches everyone how to be like a good little corporate puppet, which that's one reason why I think I struggled in school, like because I just didn't kind of conform to that. And I think that's why a lot of entrepreneurs were not great students. So
I think, Pete, I think this is a great point to bring up. And we don't talk about this a lot on our show, but this is why I think you need to surround yourself with people who are ahead of you and then people who look up to you in both sides of it, because it keeps you hungry and it keeps you humble at the same time. And I just realized this the other day because I mean, I shouldn't say the other day. I always say the other day, but it's like I realized this in this past couple years, because as we build our brand, I meet somebody like you who's crushing it. You're a couple steps ahead of us. Unit count doesn't matter. Your business is bigger. Like I see your vision and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. Like what somebody like Pete's doing. Or I go to a mastermind in Scottsdale. I see a guy who owns 350, units. And I'm like, wow, this person's really killing it. And they're looking at me like, I can help you. Like I can help you up the reins. I went to literally a networking event last night where people recognized me in Philly. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And I was like, wait a second, like I have done something cool here. Like we have something already here that people do enjoy like watching and listening to, and like they look up to me. And it's like, so to have both pull of like, we built a mentorship program around helping people get their first or next rental property, because I know how important it was to have a mentor in the beginning that I never had, or I had to piece them together, but to have one hub of somebody. So we're helping people up, and then I'm still like pressing myself forward with the people that are ahead of me. And I think that moment for you, like listen to that guy on stage. It's like, dude, you have what you thought you were searching for already.
right. Yeah.
How wild is that to like come to that realization, So it's hard, man. It's really hard because, and Rye said it perfectly. Like I have such a newfound respect for anybody that owns a business. I just like, now I have these conversations where we just kind of like look at each other and we're like, yep, we get it. Like I know what's happening inside that brain of yours. Like it's never ending. So I have a lot of respect for it, and I appreciate you sharing. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, the other thing I'll talk about with business owners is now, like, when I really talk to any of them, I'll give a great example. Okay. I don't use this company anymore, but they did an awful plumbing job for one of my construction jobs, and they left something broken and then didn't say anything about it. And then like another one of my vendors found it. And so I reached out to the head of the company. I was like, look, dude, and I was so nice about it because like I could have been like a Karen, like, I'm gonna sue you, and didn't do any of that. I was like, look, if I would want to know if I were you what your guys did. So I'm just letting you know like what they did, and like I'll let you kind of decide what how you handle that. But like if it were me, like I want to know if my staff is screwing up, because like if no one tells me as a business owner, how do I ever know, right? You you have to be a business owner to understand that perspective and then present it that way. And that's why a lot of people will yell and scream and cuss. You guys are terrible cutting corners. Like, oh, wait a minute. The guy at the top didn't cut the corner. The guy who works for him, and maybe that guy was having a bad day or whatever. But like, so that's one of the things I've learned being an entrepreneur is like kind of how to talk to people for sure.
This is brilliant that you brought this up, because I had now see it from that exact perspective too. And for that exact reason, I don't leave bad reviews on businesses unless it is legit like treason. You know what I mean? And maybe I should be harsher, but this happened to me. My personal home, I had my normal plumber wasn't available. It's kind of goes hand in hand with your story. He wasn't available. I called him. He's like, I can't get there till next week. Can you call somebody else? I'll see if I can get to you next week. I called a different company. This is the exact scenario that happened. They said, hey, dude, I just ran a scope on your main line. You have to dig up the ground and replace the line underneath the ground. And I don't know a ton about plumbing. I know enough because I've seen some stuff. I looked at the scope and I was like, I don't know if this is broken. He's like, no, see right here, like it's broken. You have to dig this up. It's going to be $9,800, $10,000. And I said, okay, what are the other options? He goes, well, we could water jet this for $2,400 instead. And I said, okay, fine. Give me a quote. No worries. My plumber came back into town. He came out and he goes, just so you know, this guy lied to your face. You do not have to even water jet it. You don't have to replace anything. I snaked it $500. There you go. And by the way, for us to water jet, it would be $900. And so I already knew that this guy was trying to, maybe he's in a bad place in his business. I don't know what it was, but I didn't leave a bad review. And I called him and I let him know. I just said, just so you know, man, like I'm not going to be the guy that tries to like rip you apart right now, but I had my plumber come out and tell me that I didn't need to do the work that you said I needed to do. It's just not a great look. And it was the owner of the company. So I don't know why he didn't get it, but to have that level of understanding now, I'm like, I'm not going to like kick and scream like a child. And I'm not even going to leave you a bad review. I just want to let you know from business owner to business owner, because he comes into my house. He doesn't know if I own a business. He doesn't know anything. So I have found that I've become more, I don't know what the word is, just like
Understanding.
Yeah, understanding. And it's changed things from my entire perspective. So I try to like, I'm more level-headed, I guess is the word is the right way to say it. So, well, anyway, man, this has been great. Ryan, do you have anything else that you want to go over? Okay, cool. Um, Pete, I love when we chat, because I know the conversation can go anywhere, and I just know I'm chatting with a good dude. I'm chatting with someone who gets it. We're in the same business. We're like, we live kind of close to each other, a state over. So I'm just glad that we were able to connect. If people want to learn more about you, your business, network, maybe you end up getting some people that live in, North Jersey that want to do business with you. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you or your company?
I mean, if you include my name in the show, like they could find me on LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm very active on. It's Pete Does Real Estate. Those are the two of the best ways. And then if you just Google my name, you'll find my company. You'll start finding all the stuff on YouTube. I have a podcast of my own, the New Jersey Real Estate Investor. So if you're interested and you want to, make money, you'll come find me.
Sweet. Well, I love it, man. It was great to chat, hear more about what you got going on, and I appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.